Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Hundreds of thousands of pensioners could face severe poverty. That's the warning from Deputy CEO of Victoria Mutual Wealth Management, as only 10% of employees in the private sector have a pension plan. Resworth Burchinson was addressing a Manchester Chamber of Commerce meeting recently. Details from TVJ's Krista Campbell.
Only 10% of private sector workers are currently on a pension plan, and Resworth Burchinson is warning of a national problem. The Deputy CEO of Victoria Mutual Wealth Management says it's a problem that could see a large percentage of pensioners struggling financially and other Jamaicans paying more taxes to support them.
Who is going to feed, clothe, shelter, etc. 75% of Jamaicans in 25 years.
He says the state will have to step in to help support them, and he's maintaining that the only way the government will be able to afford it is through taxation. He gave a breakdown for pensioners in Manchester.
By 2034, 400,000 people are going to be above the retirement age. So about 360 of those persons are going to be below it, are going to be destitute.
And he says it will be even harder for pensioners to afford health care.
The typical cost of providing medical care from somebody with diabetes, heart attack, or somebody who got a stroke, kidney failure, worst of all, the big C, it can wipe you out.
It's a situation, he says, will have serious implications for fiscal policy and economic growth. So he's urging employers and employees to get enrolled in a pension plan. Outside of what the typical workplace offers, Mr. Burchinson is recommending an approved retirement scheme which will allow workers to enter into an individual plan for their senior years. He says 14 pension providers currently offer this arrangement. Additionally, he's encouraging persons to put away personal savings for when they retire, and for those who can, they should continue working even past their retirement age. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Junior Finance Minister Favour says government is looking at using mobile money to distribute government benefits. Mrs. Williams noted that although mobile money is not widespread in the Jamaican economy, it would be more efficient than cash.
The industry has not taken off as much as we would have thought. So we've looked around within government. The PATH program, which is billions of dollars, is still in the paper-based age, and it's a perfect system for mobile money because there are small amounts that could easily be transmitted using that platform.
The Bank of Jamaica has approved 4 entities to provide mobile money solutions. Ms. Williams was speaking at the Jamaica Association of Pharmacy Owners JAPO conference yesterday in Kingston. The IMF's resident representative to Jamaica is declaring that the move to increase property taxes was a progressive one. However, there's an issue with the sudden increase. As of April 1, property taxes are based on valuations done in 2013, but rates fell to between 0.8 and 1.3%. Some persons are, however, paying thousands of dollars more for the tax. Details in this report. The property tax backlash remains a sore issue for the Andrew Holness administration. From several quarters, the tax is being viewed as drastic and draconian, especially for some elderly folk. There's applause, though, from the IMF. It's believed that the move is not regressive because it affects those who can pay.
But property tax is clearly a very progressive tax because those who earn the more would be hurt the more.
What, though, of the one-off dramatic hike? The manner of the implementation gave the IMF resident representative cause to pause. He made a recommendation.
Of course, the fact that the increase is too sharp, no sharp increase is welcome. But I think Jamaica should then think about strategy to smooth those type of increase going forward.
The occasion was an awards banquet put on by the Manchester Chamber of Commerce. He said Manchester provides the second highest intake of property tax for the government. There's, however, a high level of delinquency.
Manchester is also one of the parishes where compliance is the lowest.
Meanwhile, there was commendation for the continuity of the IMF program after the 2016 general election.
After The elections, believe me, there are not many countries out there where after an election, a highly contested election, the economic reform program stay unaltered and even expanded. So to me, those are the main gains of the reform program of Jamaica, and it's something that ought to be preserved.
It was stressed that the debt as a percentage of GDP has to be reduced, and making the public sector more efficient remains an imperative. Meanwhile, the IMF is also calling for a strategic focus on crime so that the country's economic plans will not be derailed. The IMF's resident representative to Jamaica also discussed the issue at the awards banquet for the business community in Manchester. He made specific reference to crime in Manchester.
From the data, I see that Manchester is second after St. James in terms of crime. I kind of double-checked. But, yeah, I see a lot of, crime in general. There are many, not murder. Murder, Manchester is 8 out of the 14. But the little crime, little petty crime and all of that, Manchester is at the top. And so the fact that the program focuses on national security and citizen safety is something that will benefit also Manchesterians.
The police in Manchester are concerned about the number of licensed firearms and ammunitions ending up in the hands of criminals. Deputy Superintendent in charge of operations for Manchester, Glenford Miller, wants licensed firearm holders to address the issue. He urged them to be more responsible when securing their weapons.
We are still facing an issue, a very serious issue in relation to the private firearm holders. Firearms are still being stolen at persons' home. Persons are leaving their firearms unsecured. We have a latest situation where someone left the firearm at home. It was stolen with about 200 and something rounds. But the persons went into the safe and took out the firearm, but the keys were at the house. So all the persons did, the culprit did, was to use the keys, open the safe, and took out the firearm.
With Member of Parliament for St. Andrews Southern, Dr. Omar Davies, scheduled to exit representational politics, the time frame for his departure will not be clarified until the Prime Minister confirms the holding of a by-election in the constituency. Following his hospitalization last year, Dr. Davies signaled that he might not serve the full term as Member of Parliament. Senator Mark Golding is set to be the PNP candidate in the constituency when Dr. Davies retires. He says clarity is being sought from the Prime Minister regarding his stance on the holding of a by-election when the seat becomes vacant following the retirement and resignation of Dr. Davies. Plans are advanced to install more traffic cameras in high-activity areas to clamp down on traffic breaches and the theft of road infrastructure. Communications Manager at the National Works Agency, Stephen Shaw, says the cameras will also monitor traffic signals.
We have cameras at several locations in the corporate area already. Those cameras feed into our traffic management center at the corporate office. What we are going to be doing is putting up more at other locations. Certainly, Marcus Garden Drive, that project is coming to an end. From Manor Park down to Constant Spring is to be widened as well. The Hadley Park Road, all the areas that we are going to be doing major infrastructure work, we are going to be ensuring that the infrastructure is in place to facilitate this new initiative.
Mr. Shaw adds that systems are being put in place on the expanded Mandela Highway to facilitate the installation of traffic cameras by next year.
The Prime Minister, when he signed the contract for the work to begin last year, did indicate that it's one of the areas that we would have wanted to see us installing these cameras. And I can say that we will be doing so by the time the project comes to an end in summer of 2018.
Can the August Town model of peace reap results in the Waterhouse community? Well, a businessman, the police and residents say they're seeing improvements in the crime situation in Waterhouse since a foundation began to replicate the model. TVJ's Krista Campbell has the details.
If we as a people don't change Jamaica, Jamaica will never change.
And the change is what the San Myrna Foundation is working to see in the inner city community of Waterhouse in Tangier. Director of the foundation, Robert White, used to live in the area.
We would have observed what happened in Augustown and to see where they have zero crime for a year. And that is the model that we are trying to bring to Waterhouse.
And the police say things are improving. 11 murders recorded so far this year, down from 17 during the same period in 2016.
Last year we recovered at this time 18 firearms, and to date we have recovered 27. It is showing us that the initiative that we have embarked upon, it is bearing some fruit, and it is as a result of the continued support with the community personnel.
And the residents are hopeful things will only get better.
The thing is, the proof of the pudding is eating. So right now, we see that it works. And from it works, why should we fight it?
During the 80s and the 90s, it was a bloody community. And since we all get big and Robert White become a part of us, this community take time gravitating and changing a little, coming around. And we like that.
The San Myrna Foundation will be celebrating its first anniversary with a gospel concert in Waterhouse this month. In its first year, the foundation spent over $6 million on education, health, and sporting activities, mainly in communities plagued by violence. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us for primetime news at 7. On behalf of our news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.